question. There's this. Oh, that's a weird microphone. There's a bit of a sense of a constant self-awareness, not self-awareness, but self-conscious, rather. Not in the way that I'm actually worried about what other people think I'm doing or something, but it's more of I think a constant subtle judgment of just being, I guess.
Yeah.
Could you?
Yeah, that comes with feeling separate, this judgment of yourself. And you generally judge yourself as doing something wrong?
I didn't understand it.
You judge yourself, your self-consciousness, you judge yourself as doing something wrong when you're self-conscious?
It's kind of a constant feeling of just almost a sense of control or something that so it's not I'm not aware of what I'm actually doing wrong, but there's a sense that something is wrong.
Yeah. And so do you feel it now in your body, this person that feels self-conscious? So this feeling, so it feels solid. It feels like there's contracted energy there, and that feels that that's the person looking at me. That's someone that's looking at me, that you're sat there, and then your mind will project that I'm sat here. So that makes it feel like there's an entity in there, even though it's telling itself maybe that it's wrong or done something wrong. Just by doing that, it gives it a sensation that when I speak, there's someone I'm speaking to. But really, that feeling in the head and in the heart is appearing in a boundless observer that is everywhere and everything and not a thing. So, are you aware, or...
Yes, and I feel that the trap here often is that I'm just being self-conscious of being self-conscious in a way. So it's a judgment of the judgment, and then I'm in a circle there.
Yeah. So that feeling that's coming up in the heart and in the head, and that judgment upon judgment, is all of that known? Is all of that being registered by something? Like, who is it that knows those judgments? But you can take your time.
I think yes, and at the same time, whenever I say yes, something comes with an ownership of it. You know?
Yeah.
And then it becomes a separate, something separate, saying, attacking itself again.
Yeah. So there is a knowing of this wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there is a person in there that's self-conscious and being judging. So there is the knowing of this, and the judgment. The judgment isn't the observer of this wall. There is the observer. There is the observation of the one that's having judgment, and then there's the observation of this wall. But that one that's having judgment doesn't observe this wall. I don't know if you can feel that.
So the last sentence again.
So the one that's having the judgment, so all the bundle of you isn't the actual observer. Doesn't know anything. It's dead matter. It's an observation that's appearing. So there is a play of someone that's self-conscious and someone that wants things different or feels self-conscious or feels lack. There is an observation of that. There is a knowing of that. Can you see there's like something watching that bundle of energy?
Yes, and what I seem to struggle with is that it's the same bundle that's looking at itself often.
Yes.
And sometimes maybe I can see it, and maybe I'm not sure if I'm just, this bundle is looking at itself or not.
Yeah. So So that bundle feels like it looks backwards at the knowing, right? It feels like it looks backwards at the consciousness and looks at the looker. So it feels like it's looking at the looker, and in a way it looking in thoughts, because it can't really look back at itself. There can only ever be looking, and the looking cannot know itself, it just is looking. So right now there is looking and seeing, and it's happening instantaneously. There is a looking and a knowing of this that's so quick, it's beyond that person that looks round and looks at the observer. It happens so quickly. So this is known instantly. So this cloth is known instantly, very quickly. Yeah. So that's who you truly are, and it's also a sense of existence, a radical sense of amness, of being wrong, and I've lost something. But the only reason it feels like it's lost something is because the identification has claimed the observer and the sense of beingness as its mine, where it's never yours. So right now you're actually huge. You're everything that's here. Who you truly are is the sound of my voice, is the sight of my face, is these roses. There's a lot today. Is the feeling of the bum on seat, is the microphone, is all that sound that's coming from behind you, is who you truly are and who you've always been. And even though you're fooled at the moment into believing you are someone that's self-conscious, you actually are and always will be and never have not been this boundless space and this sense of amness, this sense of presence. So even though that person inside feels small, that's simply the filter the light is going through and is not true. So what happens in the waking up process is that there seems to be a repetitive hearing of this message, that who you are is that boundless space, and then also the looking into that feeling of separation and seeing that it's not true, because that separation has claimed lots of things. So there is the coming to light that pleasure isn't your freedom. Pleasure is simply a feeling that arises and disappears. But your freedom is instantaneous and it is here, now, always. So you are a boundless freedom. That's okay. That is that sound behind you. You are no different from that sound. The observer is no different. So the hearing is no different from the heard. The seeing is no different from the seen. The feeling is no different from the felt. And that boundlessness is not a thing. It's not found in a thing, yet it's all things. So that boundlessness, who's really listening now, who's really looking at me, has never suffered. It's never had the weight of feeling not enough. It's never suffered the pain of the body. It's a huge space. And that sense of being, which is love. And then in that comes this energy goes, no, me, I'm not enough. But you are enough. You're the divine. You are that which you sought. You've been running around the maze, you've been running around the globe, looking for this, but you are it, always. And I'm not speaking on the personal level now, I'm speaking to that which is beyond the personal level. Beautiful. That's all that it can be. So now my voice, even though your mind may project, she's outside of me, she's over there, I'm hearing her, that's not true. There is only hearing. There is only seeing. And the seen and the seeing are the same thing. The hearing and the heard are the same thing. You've never been inside that body and separate from everything else. You've always been this presence. And there is no guru, no teacher, no activity that can give you this. It's a remembering beyond that person. And sometimes the person needs to be worked on, and sometimes this just needs to be heard.
Thank you. Just a bit of a follow-up question though. So what would be the approach when this happens in my daily life, that I start to go into the circle of being self-conscious in a way. Because there seems to be a lot of different techniques, as you say. Either I work on the person or I work with the boundlessness.
Yeah.
It's a bit like constantly trying different techniques to get rid of it, actually, because it's uncomfortable.
So when the feeling comes strongly, then my recommendation would be to go into that feeling and explore where that sensation comes from. So when you feel that feeling of self-consciousness, just follow it in the body. See where that self-consciousness is felt in the body. And see that it's just not true. So the thoughts and the feelings are coming up. I'm afraid, I'm not enough. They're going to not like me. And that this cannot be true because there's nobody looking at you. There's only yourself looking at itself. Like, who looks at you come up that they've made a mistake, but those thoughts don't equal somebody. So if someone's judging you, there isn't actually someone judging you. There is thoughts appearing in a machine. You're looking at lots of different machines that have judgment and programmed to do this or do that, to look at you in a certain way. But what actually looks is beyond that. So really seeing that it's not true, and that there is a feeling arising in the body and an energetic contraction which is making it feel real, which is making you feel like you're here and there's somebody out there looking at you. But who looks at you? There is nobody this way or that way. You've never been looked at. So go into that feeling, the fear comes up, and then the projection comes, they're judging me, or I'm embarrassed, or they're higher than me. Because more than likely, in that self-consciousness, you're projecting they're higher in some way, and that you're lower. And so then there is that sensation of feeling lower, which is painful. And then the body doesn't like that, and then it's like, don't like them, or there's something wrong with me, whatever it is. So just see what happens, see it clearly, what happens. The feeling comes up, the thoughts come up, and it gives you a reality that you're inside, they're outside, and this cannot be true.
It doesn't resonate completely, like a bit I can be by myself, and it's still this self-consciousness. As I said, not really about anyone else, but just with myself in a way. So I don't, it's there whether someone else is, some other machine is judging me or not.
Yeah. Yeah. What are you feeling in your body right now?
In my chest.
Yeah.
And in my arm, in my chest.
Yeah. And when I say the stuff about the self-consciousness and about others judging you, or you judging them, or whatever happens, what happens in the body?
It was shrinking down into the solar plexus.
Yeah. And then what does that feel like?
Like being small, hiding.
Yeah. So just rest your attention there on being small and hiding. Do you feel ashamed when I say that you're embarrassed in front of other people, or that you're self-conscious in front of others? Just let yourself admit it. And that's okay if it does and rejects it, but you can just sink into it. And in that, it's like a lotus, it then just opens up. You don't need to fight it. Even if I'm wrong or anything, it doesn't matter. It's just an admitting that feeling. Because what happens is I say something, your mind interprets it that I'm saying you're bad, and then you contract and reject me. And really this is about always staying open. But it's not a personal thing. You just need to let the light in. You're going to feel it may be a struggle, but you have to say a bit what you feel. I'm not saying you're bad in any way. I'm not saying you're wrong or done anything wrong. Where you don't admit to yourself what you feel, then what you'll do is you'll unconsciously seek the opposite in the external. You'll seek to always be confident, to always be self-assured. And this is the seeking pattern of the separate person. Not just that, but this is what it does. So it doesn't like this feeling of feeling vulnerable and insecure. So it therefore tries to play being the other. This is what people do their whole life. I'm always open to being wrong though. I could be wrong. We play in opposites. The separate self is based in opposites. We play to be, we try to be that which we fear we're not. And then we live in a world of both. Being that, not being that. Others being that, not being that. And we then develop such an overactive mind. Always trying to be something but not. Where really who we truly are, what we truly are is this moment, is this presence, is what's happening. Is your mind fighting me? Is your mind arguing with what I'm saying on the thinking level?
A bit mixed, I think. A bit nervous, sometimes shutting a bit down.
Yeah.
And sometimes just feeling the anxiety.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes trying to strategize to be better at this in a way, to be brave or something.
Yeah, yeah.
A bit of the self-consciousness comes back.
Yeah.
Which is very much felt in the head. Once I feel that pressure in that, I automatically just instantly try to, what do I do with this? Trying to get away from that feeling.
You just need to sit with it. Really, this is really what it's about. When this really becomes strong, so when you're not acting out your patterns, the thinking can become really fast as well. It almost makes you feel dizzy. keep looking what to do, what to do, what to do.
Yeah, and also
This-
pushing away, I don't want it.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I get it right, then it's just sitting with this feeling of being self-conscious and accepting it.
Yeah. It's not really your acceptance. What's happening is you aren't being fed. So it's kind of like there's a surrendering happening, but it's not really your doing. But it might feel like you're accepting it. But by just sitting there and moving the attention, feeling it, and not getting up and going to do something, there's like a surrendering happening.